Good morning. So, I have some thoughts, right? Cue the trolls. Am I going to do this every time? Who knows? But the trolls, right? You have some thoughts. Why don't you go into the kitchen and make me a sandwich, right? And then, because I've been getting this from some haters, comment about my face, right? Compare me to a man, because I have no makeup on and my voice is low, right? What's between her legs? That you like to know. Anyway, I have some thoughts. I watched the Black California Governor's Candidate Forum last night. The live replay, the replay is on YouTube. So if you want to check it out, 1010 would recommend. And I have so many thoughts on it. I will need to write them down at some point, hopefully today, but I don't get paid for this. So other things that bring in money or the potential for money, unless this could, I'm just saying, they take priority. But, right, first reactions. Well, actually, the first reactions would be in the volunteer Discord and a little bit of the YouTube chat replay. I don't know if the chat is also on the replay. It doesn't matter. Point, right? Reflections. Butchware one. Like, hands fucking down. I mentioned it in both the chat and the Discord for volunteers. All of the candidates did well, right? Some, honestly, should not be running at all, and personally, I think that showed in how they showed up, but they still hit their key points, right? They still said what they probably wanted to say, maybe. And they showed up like the trained politicians that they are trying to become, right? Or that they are, for some of them. Butch was the only one where it's like when he spoke, you could tell that he was lit up. Like, there was a spark in him that was a raging wildfire. And not the dangerous kind of wildfires that you find in California. Although, based on the way that the two parties, particularly Team Blue, right, Democrats, are going after him, like, he is dangerous to them. But that's a story for another time, right? And yes, obviously, people could call me biased with this reflection and this review, because if I lived in California, I would be voting for Butch, but I don't live in California. I am just a third-party supporter, right? Anyway, he was the only one where you could feel the passion in his voice. You could see the fire in his eyes. Everyone else had the right talking points to an extent, right? There was one other candidate who well, listen, I'm not a fan of pumpkin spice lattes. They're too sweet for me. I take my blank neat. Granted, I do put a little bit of syrup in it sometimes, just for a little something something, but somebody that I used to know tried to get me onto black coffee, so there's that. We'll call him, no, we're not bringing him into the story. He doesn't matter. Anyway. Some of the other candidates, though, right? There was one where in the Discord during the live watch party, I made a comment about how nobody needs to see up your nose, sir. It's all about angles, right? He needs to work on his. Rumor has it that he's not comfortable in front of a camera, so I'm taking that into consideration, right? I'm not necessarily holding it against him. But just in case that's not his default, and even if it is, like, I question it because it gives off the wrong vibe. But anyway, I'm not picking him apart. That is not my intention. There were 3 other ones, though. Well, there were obviously more than that. Okay, let's try to go through all of the candidates real quick, right? There was a doctor who I think was getting frustrated with tech issues. And honestly, I understand why. I don't know if it was the tech issues or something else, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because I don't think that they showed up as strongly as they maybe could have. Maybe it's their stage presence, maybe it's their ability to do the job. No judgment. Maybe it was the tech issues, but they didn't seem confident, and it showed. There was another one who, bless his heart, I would not vote for, but I would be down to smoke a joint with. Like, I think that he would be a really fun person to have a conversation with. Without all of the word salad, right? He was a cutie. Let's see. And apologies if I miss people, right? I'm pulling things from thin air here. I don't have a list of talking points, and my coffee hasn't hit yet. The other 3, though, right? 1, not to judge, but I'm like, sweetheart, you look like you enjoy hitting the needle. You seem very fake. Very much like you don't give a fuck, you just want the title. And I don't know if it's your personality that made me want to fall asleep, or if you were on something that made it so difficult to listen to. And I recognize, right? People are going to say that about me. People already have, about how I speak. Slowly. Deliberately. I don't think that person was deliberate, though. I don't think he knew what he was talking about. But honestly, he's not a contender at all. He's just in it for some added 15 minutes of fame. Then there was the billionaire, right? Who, I'm just sitting here like, sweetheart, nobody wants you in office. They want your money. So why don't you just pay your fucking taxes? Or if you want to be a good Samaritan, just donate it to the cause. You could drop some pocket change and solve a lot of problems regarding homelessness, right? Regarding accessibility to education for the Black kids that you spoke about, but honestly, I got the impression that you could care less about them. But it gives privileged white person who wants to look like he's doing a good thing, which is also interesting considering he made some notes about how everybody deserves a second chance and he deserves a second chance and things like that. And I'm like, a second chance at what, sweetheart? What skeletons are you hiding in your closet? Right? Like, there are some that the people are aware of, but what else are you hiding? Again, my recommendation for that one, drop out of the race and be a good boy. Donate your money or invest it in organizations that actually make a difference, right? Also, I made a comment about him in the chat and the Discord about how, as somebody who worked in corporate housing, right? This was during the question that they had on housing. I worked, just for those of you who are unaware, for a national home builder for 7 years as a community sales manager, sales consultant, and sales coach. Prior to that, I worked as a leasing agent, assistant manager, and marketing manager for an apartment like developer, builder, multifamily housing company, right? So even though I'm no longer directly in that industry, I am very aware of how it works. So, point, right? As somebody who worked in that industry, listening to the billionaire speak, you guys, he spoke exactly like a CEO of a billion-dollar company who, at the end of the day, doesn't actually give a fuck about the people because he's going to pocket the profit. That literally happened where I used to work. The people doing the work would start getting less and less pay while the company boasted about how much money they were bringing in. That's him. Do you really want him running your state? I'm just saying. And anyone backing him, what are you getting paid under the table? That's my question to you. And then the last one. Listen, I'm sure he's a good boy, but he gives Temu Tommy. So it's a no for me, dog. Anyway, those are like my morning reviews of the Black California. The Black California Governors, whatever it was called. I'm so sorry. I'll put a link in it. I'll tag them. Like, go watch the replay, do your due diligence, and don't forget to write in. With love, Kai. Just kidding. You know who I am.